The Divine Comedy, Inferno, Canto 1. Midway upon the journey of our life, I found that I was in a dusky wood, for the right path whence I had strayed was lost. Ah me! How hard a thing it is to tell the wildness of that rough and savage place, the very thought of which brings back my fear. So bitter it was. Death is little more so. But that the good I found there may be told, I will describe the other things I saw. How I arrived there, it were hard to tell. So weary was my mind, so filled with sleep, I reeled and wandered from the path of truth. When I had come before a mountain's base, the ending of that steep and rugged valley that lately had so struck my heart with fear, I raised my eyes and saw the mountain's shoulder, already covered by the planet's rays that safely guide the steps of other men. Then was my terror somewhat quieted, that though the last night's anguish I had borne within the well springs of my heart, like one who, having battled with the waves, in safety on the shore, with panting breath looks back upon the perils of the deep, so did my soul, which still in terror fled, turn back to contemplate with awe and fear that pass which man had never left alive. After my weary body had been rested, again I started up the desert steep, so that my lower foot was e'er the firmer, when lo, close to the bottom of the mount, a leopardess, light poised and passing swift, her hide all covered o'er with inky spots. She always stood before me, face to face, blocking my path whenever I advanced, so that I turned and turned again in vain. 'Twas at the very earliest flush of dawn. The sun was rising, placed among those stars, which were surrounding him, when love divine first set those heavenly things upon their course. The time of day, the soft air of the season, emboldened me to hope I might prevail against that beast with gaily spotted hide, but not enough to overcome my fear when I beheld a lion in my path. He seemed as if he were advancing on me, his head erect, by rabid hunger driven, so that the very air did seem afraid. A she-wolf stood beside him, gaunt and grim, whose leanness showed her hunger unappeased, though many she had caused to live in woe. So heavily she bore my spirits down, with terror which her very aspect caused, that I lost hope of making the ascent. And as a man who glories in his gains, when comes the time that all he has is lost, despairs, his thoughts oppressed by misery, so I became before that restless beast, which, coming on against me step by step, made me retreat to where the sun is still. While I was stumbling down to lower ground, before my startled eyes appeared a man whose voice seemed weak from long continued silence. And when I saw him in that desert place, "Help me, pity me," I cried, "whate'er you are, a living man or spectre from the shades." He answered me, "No man am I, though once a man I was, from Lombard parents sprung, who both were citizens of Mantua. Late in the time of Julius I was born, and lived in Rome while great Augustus reigned, when false and lying gods still held their sway. I was a poet, and sang the worthy son, born to Anchises, who escaped from Troy after proud Ilion was burned to ashes. But why do you return to so much woe? Why not climb upward to that happy mountain, the origin and cause of every joy. Are you then Virgil, that great fountainhead, whence such a flood of eloquence has flowed? I answered him, abashed, with forehead bowed. O light and honor of all other poets, may my long faithful study of your book, and my great love for it, avail me now. You are my master and my very author. It is from you alone that I have taken the lofty style for which men honor me. See yonder beast from which I turned away? Protect me from her, O illustrious sage. My blood is trembling in my veins from fear. Another passage you must seek, he said, perceiving that my eyes were filled with tears, if you would safely leave this savage place. For that wild beast which makes you cry aloud suffers no man to pass along her way, but blocks his passage till he has been slain. Her nature is so evil and malign that never is her greedy will appeased. Food only makes her hungrier than before. With many another animal she has bred, and will with many more, until such time the hound shall come to make her die of grief. That hound who shall not feed upon the land or riches, but on wisdom, love, and valor. His fatherland shall lie between the feltris. The Saviour he of fallen Italy, for whom the maid Camilla died, and Turnus, Euryalus, and Nixus shed their blood. Through every city he shall drive her on, until again she takes her place in hell, whence envy sent her forth to plague mankind. Wherefore I think that it were best for you to follow me, and I shall be your guide, to lead you hence through that eternal place where you shall hear despairing cries of woe, and see the ancient spirits in their grief, proclaiming they have died a second death. Then you shall look on those who are content to burn in flames, because they hope to join, whenever it may be, the blessed throng. But should you wish to reach the realms of bliss, for that there'll be a worthier soul than I'll leave you in her care when I depart. For the great emperor who rules above forbids that I, rebellious to his law, approach unto his glorious citadel. The Lord who ruleth all there sits on high. There is his city, there is his lofty throne. How happy there is he whom God hath chosen. And I told him, O poet, I beseech you, by that same God whom you have never known, that I may flee this wickedness and worse, O lead me where you said, but now a while, so that I may behold St. Peter's gate, and those you say are so oppressed by grief. Then he moved on. I followed in his steps.